Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger. Welcome back. We're back in Idaho, which means we're back doing videos again. We've been 3 weeks in Israel, a couple nights in Poland, and as you know by now, if you want to glean the most out of these Middle East updates, you need to go to our website at holygroundexplorations.com to access the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this video. Again, it's the week of November 8th. Let's jump in. Back at it. That's all I can say. The Gaza border, 5,000 Palestinians demonstrating, chucking Molotov cocktails, rioting, etc. The reason this is important to me right now, there seemed to have been quiet for a while, but things are ramping up. And we were just on the Gaza border at a base and met some IDF soldiers of Golani, and we're remembering them at this moment because they obviously would have been in the midst of all of this. But when we had the opportunity to discuss the situation in Gaza with just sort of the everyday soldier, and off the record I asked the question, is there a solution to this problem? And the response was, unless there's a regime change, unless something radically happens, in other words, unless Israel goes in and removes Hamas, there will never be a change. So regardless of what you're hearing about economic advancements or proposals or peace plans or whatever, this hatred is inbred since birth, and things will not change unless Israel finally gets fed up with all these rockets that are coming in. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and in a sense forces a regime change. That's the truth. Now again, on this first thing that I have on musings, there's an issue that I think is as important, if not more important than this. I'm sensing, and if you remember back in the days of Obama, when Obama talked about with Iran red lines and all that, you know, that was a joke. You know, we had no red lines. Israel does. And it's just coming out, but I get this weird feeling that Israel is about to do something significant in regards to Iran. Again, just over the last few days, Iran's expansion of proliferation-sensitive activities in regards to their nuclear program raises concerns that Iran is putting itself in a position to have the option of a rapid nuclear breakout. That was from Mike Pompeo. And all the way through, there's a thread through this presentation. Bibi Netanyahu is stated again and again and again and again, Iran will not obtain a nuclear weapon. And the closer they get to that, that is the red line that's crossed. And if you cross a red line, in regards to Israel, be prepared for the consequences. And I believe that we're closer than we've ever been before to some major, I don't know what it is, but some major confrontation between Israel and Iran. Now, back to our PowerPoint. I hope you have that. News bites. Warms your heart. Bibi Netanyahu's quote. He was at a conference at Friends of Zion, FOZ, American Evangelical Christians and broadcasters. In his quote, he started by saying, "We have no better friends in the world than our Christian friends." And he recalled Theodore Herzl's earlier supporters. His earliest supporters were not fellow Jews, but Christian Zionists who believed in his cause. No greater friends. I pray that that's true. Now, let's look at the mess of elections. The kingmaker, the so-called kingmaker, Naftali Bennett, or I guess you would say it's Avigdor Lieberman, both of them are saying in so many words, we're not optimistic regarding the chances of forming a unity government. In my estimation, we're going to go to third elections. We've talked about this, and the only wrench in this is going to be Iran. If Israel is in danger in any way, there will be some kind of coalition government. But in the meantime, we still got another week or two of false leads going back and forth and posturing, negotiating. But as I've said before, I'm not optimistic in terms of a blue and white and a Likud merging for a coalition or unity government. Likud actually floated out a third electoral proposal. Instead of the status quo, they're suggesting let's just send Netanyahu and Benny Gantz into the ring and let people vote on just the two of them to determine who the next prime minister should be. And then one final thing in regards to the Kurds, an Israeli official confirmed for the first time that Jerusalem, that Israel is providing humanitarian aid to the Jews since the U.S. pulled out of Syria. Now, let's look at the major items for this week. I've already alluded to Bibi's statements about no nukes. Speaking at an event in Jerusalem on Tuesday night, Netanyahu stated that given Iran's efforts to expand its nuclear weapons program, expand its enrichment of uranium for making atomic bombs, I repeat here once again. Are you ready? We will never let Iran develop nuclear weapons. That is the red line. And the judgment of how close Iran is getting to that red line, it's in the court of the Israelis, not the world, the Israelis. Now, as you know, this last week, the Islamic Republic began injecting uranium gas into its centrifuges just about midnight last Thursday. And again, I don't know all the physics of it, but I do know that it violates the accord that was set. It speeds up the process, and the U.S. State Department calls it a big step in the wrong direction. So we'll have to wait and see about that red line. Now, the mess that we talked about in Gaza, Israel is always going to hold Hamas accountable, but the reality is that all this mess right now is probably Islamic Jihad. After a night of airstrikes in retaliation for the rocket fire in the Gaza strips, it's unclear whether these fresh rounds of fighting, 10 rockets were sent, one home in Sderot was hit, but it can be assumed that the Gaza ruling Hamas is not looking for an escalation of violence. It appears that their fellow terror group, which is supported primarily by Iran, by the way, Islamic Jihad, is doing everything possible to set the area ablaze, with Hamas standing by, obviously allowing it to do so because of fear of public criticism were to intervene. And so get a good idea of what's taken place, because now we're going to talk about free elections, or Palestinian elections. Where does Hamas stand in all this? That's why the public opinion poll is very important. We'll get to that in a second. There's an article I want you to read. It's called Free Gaza. Let me just give it to you in a moment. Israel agrees that Gaza needs to be freed. Listen to this. Yes, the world should work hard to free Gaza, but from whom? Is it really Israel that's making the Gazans suffer? Think again. Why doesn't the world see it? Not one Jew lives in Gaza. Israelis do not control Gaza. It's true, they guard the border. They have to. Otherwise, terrorists will infiltrate the fence. They'll murder innocent Israelis, but Hamas rules over Gaza. And Hamas is the reason that the potential goods that are provided by Israel and others do not reach the regular everyday people of Gaza. So next time you hear someone say that they want to free Gaza, make sure they know who Gaza needs to be freed from. Now, I had to get that out of the way. I'm running out of time. We like to keep these around 10 minutes, and I'm getting there. The PA elections, I always find this comical. Listen to this. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas will not run for re-election, stated by senior Fatah official Jibril Rahabi. He told Palestinian TV on Monday, and now that announcement that he wasn't going to run was contradicted by Hussein al-Sheikh, who recently said that Abbas is the only candidate that will be running. And again, keep in mind that Abbas is currently in the 14th year of a 4-year term. No big surprise here, a date for the Palestinian elections is yet to be demonstrated. However, Abbas did make the statement. He sent out a memo stating that any faction running in these elections will have to recognize the PLO as a representative of the Palestinian people, honor all of its agreements it's signed, and of course, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, has rejected Abbas's preconditions for the Palestinian elections. So if you think Israel's got an issue with elections, let's wait and see how this unravels. Okay, there's one last article. We're out of time, from the mayor of Sderot. The bottom line here is that Israel's trying to financially help the people of Sderot, business owners, and the mayor just came out and said, you know, we don't want money, we want a solution. And so red lines with Iran or red lines with Gaza, that's basically what's going on this week in our Middle East update. So glad to be back, glad to have this video, share it with a friend, and shalom.